Hey guys, mambo yamechemuka. Allies wa William Ruto wameanza kujikojolea na wameendelea kutense zaidi baada ya William Ruto kuanza kutumia wanapolisi kwa njia mbaya. Unajua moments ambazo William Ruto atakuwa anatumia hawa wanapolisi humiliating the other side of opposition team, then hiyo ndo wakati tu ama hiyo ndo nafasi ya wana opposition kugain support ya Wakenya na itakuwa sympathy, and through the ballot William Ruto will be taken home 2027. That's why wanajaribu urging the president kuacha kutumia wanapolisi kushambulia hawa wana opposition juu itawasababishia problems 2027, wakose kuwa elected na wataingia wapi? Wapo Rais William Ruto atapelekwa nyumbani. And show me like video na nasema thanks for your great support. Nyinyi ni watu wa nguvu zaidi. Sikiza hii mambo kwanza.
Go out to vote. So assuming all the police were deployed in our strongholds as a united opposition, that might discourage our people from getting out of their houses to go and vote, meaning the voter turnout will be very low. So this is another matter we must address. And I think a number of other lessons we learned, which we might have to discuss when we get to the boardrooms. But all said and done, we have said this. For example, from where you sit, did you imagine the Unguja seat in Siaya was to be lost to another party? Obviously, we knew ODM will take it. So the question is, by what mind? And I like what Mheshimiwa Kido said, because he says, like Baringo, we knew it will go with UDA. So the question was, how much can the opposition take from that? And getting 30,000 votes on a candidate who was not UDA sends a signal that as we move to the future, there might be need to be concerned, because it means 30,000 already gone to an area you never imagined. If that happens across board, then I think somebody has a reason to worry. But to me, the most important lesson we have learned is we have no time to sleep. It's time to wake up and get to hard work to make sure that we get this seat.
Yes. The other big problem is a kind of public perception now on the strength that the united opposition had talked about them having and what we've seen. Because the indication was that if anyone was ever going to stop William Ruto, it was a united opposition. Now they're coming out of it, some even trying to distance themselves from some of the losses. Kenyans and those who are supporting that side are looking and saying, are you really sure you are able to stop this gentleman?
Thanks for the question. Let's first of all understand the comment made by Rigathi Gachagua. In Mbere, the original candidate of Rigathi Gachagua of DCP got almost 3,000 votes. In Mbere, let us remember that DCP had to withdraw its candidate for purposes of opposition unity. So the same way that you are saying a win is a win, it is also accurate to say that DCP, as a matter of political and legal fact, had no candidate, which is what he was saying. And he also added that if you are going, effectively that's what he was saying, if you are going to say DCP has lost a seat that it never contested, why are we then conveniently not talking about seats that DCP actually had candidates and it won? And that's a valid point, because I've previously said that he talked about commentators. And I said the same thing even before I heard him speak, that commentators probably need also to up their game, both in the media and elsewhere, and be a little bit more analytical. Because if there is going to be the kind of shallowness we have witnessed, then the country is going to be the loser. In an election whereby I would say, and I go to this related point of the analysis of the results, as far as I can see it. Who lost? Did the united opposition lose? No, it did not lose. What is the basis that I say that? I say that because all the seats won by ODM at the national level were not competitive. Okay, number one, they were not competitive at all. You cannot brag about elections in Siaya or elections in Baringo. Okay? Number two, the elections that were actually competitive, when you look at all the factors, including the usage of state resources, you cannot say there is legitimacy in the win in Malava and Mbeere North. And therefore, the two, at the national level, two competitive elections, oppositions did very, very well, despite all those things, and on the premise that a win is a win. Then when we go to the MCA seats, outside Turkana, outside the ODM zones, in Western Kenya, in Narok, in Nairobi, all the areas that people called battlegrounds, the opposition actually won. Therefore, for purposes of running a narrative, how do you measure the impact of any elections moving forward? You cannot measure by asking people in Kericho about UDA. They will all say 98% that we are going to vote for Ruto. You actually test it in a place where you are going to say the populations can go either way. That's how you measure how people are likely to perform. And on that measure, my view is that the opposition actually won in all areas where there were competitive elections. I go to the final issue on these issues of the import on presidential elections. I think on this issue, we need to be careful that presidential elections work on a different logic from the elections of MCS, from the elections of National Assembly. In fact, if you had gone to last weekend's analysis, which now that one, there were two analyses, the national level and the actual undercurrents. The actual undercurrents work this way, that if it is Itakua in Malava, he comes from a clan. There are certain clan rivalries. Those clan rivalries, irrespective of how they are likely to vote on who will be their presidential candidate, they would tend to say, we want our clan to win this seat. So those kind of elections would be affected by even a person who is likely to be pro-Odinga. If his clan is likely to get a seat, he can easily go flip it on the Ruto side, if that is a scenario. So there is, of course, no clear nexus between an MCA, MP seat vis-a-vis a presidential election. The key factor going on to 2027 will be two, as far as I can see, for purposes of presidential elections. William Ruto, and he understands that is why he was going to make those points when he went to launch a road prematurely in Nakuru. The issue is, as president, he will need to perform. But what we are actually seeing, the economy would have to be working very well. The government would have to be affording its budget for him to have any chance of re-elections. And number two, and that is now there's some complications in Mount Kenya. In Mount Kenya, and I like that bit alone, a bit, it is poisoned chalice that UDA won in Mbeere unfairly. Why is it poisoned chalice for him? Because it gives him the illusions about how much votes you can actually get in Mount Kenya. And those illusions are good. Good in two senses. Number one, as we go to 2027, the kind of scuttlebutt that he can be able to engage in and politics of malice, again as members of the community from that area, it reduces a bit because he still have the illusions that he will have the support from there. Number two, it complicates the running mate argument that he will now be tempted to say, what if I let the running mate position stay around Mount Kenya in the hope that I'm going to get more votes? How that plays out elsewhere, now that would be directly significant.
And we'll be talking about the running mate issue.